Hello there guys! For today's video, I'm going to show you how to make giants in Photoshop. And also we will dive deeper into select subject, creating shadows with the use of a brush tool, applying color balance, applying curves, using burn tool, applying field blur, and applying vignette. So let's get started! So to create a giant, we have to consider that the asset images are matched. We have this image of background that will match our subject that will serve as the giant. The first step we're going to do here is we're going to create a selection on our subject. So to do that, make sure that you're selected on the background layer. Go to the menu bar, go to select, and then choose subject. So once the selection is done, we'll just have to enhance the selection with the use of a Polygonal Lasso tool for some parts that aren't selected and for some parts that we are going to deselect, right? So let's do this one in. Get the Polygonal Lasso tool. Let's add a selection on the soul because some part wasn't selected. So once you think that the selection is already good, now press V for the move tool and then click and drag it on our original document. So we have to create an effect here that this man is lying on this building over here with the use of a transformation command. So with that subject layer selected, press Ctrl plus T, and then once the transformation command is out, we can already decrease the size of it, okay, and matching it that he is lying on the building. All right, so I'm going to put the position to this. All right, seems like the scale is good for me. All right, then hit enter. And by the way, if you find this video helpful so far, please consider subscribing to help YouTube algorithm show my videos to other nerds like us. Going back, well, there are part of the picture that we have to fix in. Okay, so one is this man that looks like his head was stepped up by the giant, and also another subject on this part. Right, so to fix that, make sure that you're selected on that background copy layer. Let's hide this subject layer first. Get the Polygonal Lasso tool or press L, and then let's create a selection on the upper part of this subject here. All right, and also this man over here. All right, so once we already have the selection of these two subjects, now press Ctrl plus J. All right, so let's name this layer as the crowd. Okay, and then let's bring back this top part layer. All right, there you go. And then press Ctrl and click on the timeline of this crowd layer, the two subjects that we just selected. There are. And then make sure that you're selected on that subject layer and then hit backspace. So once I did that, they already pop up on the image. Okay, press Ctrl plus D to deselect. All right, there are. Now let's zoom this one out. Okay, now the next step here is we're going to add the shadow because we have to create a shadow on this area of the building where the subject is lying. All right, so to do that, let's create a new layer. Going on to the right bottom left corner of our screen, find this symbol. That's the create a new layer. Like that. Let's name this layer as the shadow. There are. And let's click and drop it under the subject layer. All right, so this layer one, let's rename this one for us not to be confused. There are. That's the subject layer. All right, and then selected on the shadow layer, for creating shadows, we're going to make use of a brush tool. So let's get the brush tool. Just press B for the shortcut key. And then from the options on top, yes, click on this one for the brush. We're going to make use of a soft round brush. Click that. And then under here, we're going to flatten the brush. Okay, for us to create a horizontal brush for us to make a shadow under the sole of the shoes of our subject. Okay, so I'm going to flatten this one by click and dragging this one. There you go. For the opacity, I'm going to set this one into the amount of 25%. And then for the foreground color, make sure we're going to make use of a black color. Hit OK. And then once all said and done, let's zoom this on this area. Make sure that you're selected on the shadow layer, okay? Then press B. Let's create a shadow on this part. All right, so I'm clicking this one many times to create a darker shadow. Less opacity is good for us to control the amount of the opacity of the shadow. All right. Okay. Now let's go to this part here. Again, going to the options, click this one, and then let's rotate this brush to vertically, something like that. All right. Because this will be the shadow for the wallings of the building. There are. I'm happy with this. Seems like I created a shadow around it. Another thing that the crowd here, or that two crowd, are also affected by the shadow, right? So that's why we create that crowd layer, because I'm going to click and drop the shadow layer under that crowd layer, so that they won't be affected by the shadow, something like that. The next step here is we're going to fix on the highlights. Something like the brightness is coming from this area. So that's why we're going to apply here highlights. All right. So to do that, selected on that subject layer selected. Now I'm going to the adjustment layer icon and then choose on curves. Under the histogram, I'm going to click to create a point here at the middle. And then I'm going to click and drag it moving here. All right. To brighten up the highlights. Okay, something like that. And then from this layer mask of the curves, press Ctrl plus I to invert that. There you go. And then let's get the brush tool. For the options, click this one. We're gonna make use of a soft round brush here. All right, brush. All right, and then for the opacity, 25% is good for me. And then press Ctrl and click on the thumbnail of the subject layer. There you are, so that the subject is selected. All right, and then for the foreground color, make sure that's white. So we may now start brightening this part. All right. All right. So once you're good with it, press Ctrl plus D to deselect. Okay. Now another thing here is that we're going to darken the back part of our subject with the use of the burn tool. Okay. So to do that, press Ctrl and then click on the thumbnail, and also make sure that you're selected on the subject layer. There you are. And then going on to the toolbar, if you see this kind of symbol in the toolbar, right click on it and then choose on burn tool. Okay. And then once it's selected, for the exposure, I'm going to decrease this one into the amount of 30%. And then we may now start darkening the back part of our subject. Something like that. All right, now that seems good to me now. Now the next step we're gonna do here is we're going to apply the field blur. All right, so but before we do that, we have to create a snapshot of this image. All right, to create a snapshot layer of it. So to do that, all I have to do is to press Control plus Alt plus Shift plus E. So I repeat, press Control plus Alt plus Shift plus E, so that we can create a snapshot layer. Going on to the layers panel, we already have this layer now. And then from that layer selected, let's go to the menu bar, go to filter, then choose on blur gallery and find field blur. To use this one, so there's a point here you have noticed here, right? So I'm going to click and drag it on the side of the, okay, on this area. Okay, I can also adjust the blur from this. Okay, so I'm gonna set the blur into the amount of, yes, 10% only. Okay, and then let's create another point like that on this area here. All right, there you go. Yes, set this one to 10 as well. Right, and also let's create another point here. Set that to 10. All right, now we're also going to create a point inside, okay? Because our main goal here is to create a focus on our subject. So I'm going to create a point here, but this time from the amount, I'm going to decrease this one into the amount of 0%. Okay, see? All right, also to this part of his body over here, all right, 0%. And also here, 0%. Okay, from this part, we can just decrease the amount just to 3, so just giving it a few blur on it. All right, so that seems good to me. Now once you're good with it, now hit OK. So the next step here is we're going to apply the color balance. All right, so to do that, going on to the adjustment layer icon, click that and then choose on color balance. There you are. Alright, so from the tone under midtones, from the cyan, I'm going to decrease this one to create a cool effect. -6 is okay. Alright, we're also going to increase the magenta, giving it a greenish color. Alright, so I set that to 6 as well. And then for the yellows, I'm going to decrease this one. Alright, just a little amount of -4. That seems good to me. Alright, there you are. Alright, and then one last thing here is we're going to apply the vignette. To do that, select it on that snapshot layer of our images. Go to the menu bar, go to filter, then choose on camera raw filter. So this window will appear. Go to effects. Under the vignetting, I'm going to decrease this one to the amount that I want. All right, something like around 15. Okay, once I'm good with it, hit OK. All right, and there you go. So let me show you the before and after. So this one is the before, and this one is the after. And that is how to make giants in Photoshop.